the number 2 overall pick. The odds have changed mightily for both 1 and 2. Seems like a lot of smoke is coming out right now. What are you hearing? What should we expect? CJ Stroud's a clear number 2, right? That's just what is going to happen. It's been that way for a long time, or what are you hearing, Shregs?
Still could happen. That's the thing. I think everyone's already got on this narrative that Stroud isn't going to go second overall. It still very much could happen. Nick Caserio has kept this close to the vest. A lesson I've learned over a couple years of these Texans drafts. One of them, they didn't have a first or second round pick. They ended up taking Davis Mills in the third round last year. Everyone had Sauce Gardner going, above Derek Stingley. They took Derek Stingley. Everyone had other offensive linemen going before Kenyon Green. They took Kenyon Green, their second first-round pick, and none of that was leaked out before the draft. So I would just say take caution in thinking anything is in stone with the Houston Texans. What I've heard as of late, though, is that the DeMeco Ryans formula is get me a long, big defensive lineman that we can start working around, because that is what they did in San Francisco year after year after year in the draft. And it was Solomon Thomas, then it was obviously DeForest Buckner, then it was Eric Armstead, then it was Bosa, and then it was Javon Kinlaw. And then last year they ended up and they go and they sign Javon Hargrave. The guy who is that is Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech, who gosh, if you told me a year ago a Texas Tech defensive player with foot issues is going to go second overall in the draft, I would say you're crazy. But his medical's cleared. And right now, I think he might be the odds-on favorite to go second overall as we're 48 hours out. Fits the DeMeco Ryans defense, 4-down lineman, and is an absolute physical freak with an 86-inch wingspan out of Texas Tech, Tyree Wilson.
So I don't think he's odds-on favorite anywhere.
Levis is the favorite, and then they're both 3. And then Tyree and Will Anderson are both plus 300 right now as we speak.
Yeah, these have all moved, though, mightily over like hourly at this point, because new information that's kind of rolling out there. The Tyree Wilson at 2 train has started this week. I believe Lombardi has the same thing, and we all assume that Lombardi has some sort of ties down there in down in Houston through New England with Caserio and other people that are down there. You saying Tyree Wilson plus 300's not a bad little Chet spread. Plus 300's not bad. Pac-Man said earlier, Jalen Carter, everybody's saying he's the best player in the draft. He is a D lineman. Does DeMeco think that he could potentially make the best out of Jalen Carter in the NFL? Will he go number 2 overall? Sounds like that's not what you're thinking or hearing. That's good news.
No.
We just need your brain.
I don't think so. I think Jalen Carter is likely the 3rd defensive lineman in this draft taken, and he'll go after Anderson, who, by the way, Anderson, and again, you guys might cringe as former players at the thought of this term, but like the cleanest of these prospects, as in there's no injury stuff, there's no off the field stuff. Anderson is, basically a choir boy as far as off the field. He's one of Nick Saban's favorite players. He just doesn't have the same physical build as a Tyree Wilson. He's 252 pounds, could play outside, could play on the line. A sure thing. And this is not an insult or kind of like, he's not a home run pick. He's more of a safer pick. And I feel like he will go before Jalen Carter, but still could go right after Tyree Wilson. Anderson's outstanding 2-time SEC Defensive Player of the Year, and yet Tyree Wilson has looked as the guy with the bigger upside.
Interesting. That sounds like a defensive-heavy top end.
And that would be one of those teams that just comes out of nowhere and does something, because there's definitely going to be one of those on Thursday night, and trying to figure out who it is impossible.
The Texans going to do it. It's going to be Jalen Carter. He's the best player in the draft, man. And it's hard to get these guys. They don't come off.
Okay, so you think that Jalen Carter, number 2 overall?
I think the Texans take him. They got a known draft history of taking good defensive linemen, interior linemen, defensive ends. They spend a lot of money with those guys. I think the Texans take him.
What are those odds? What are those odds for Jalen Carter?
At number 2?
Yeah.
They're you get pretty good odds on number 2 for Jalen Carter.
Not even on here.
So it's plus 1,000 more?
I need to
They
bet
can trade
me
back a
something
few spots and still get them.
7,500.
Plus 7,500 right now.
Definitely
if you
going
want
to bet that.
Okay, hey, here we go, Pac.
There
Let's
we
go.
go.
Take him, Pac. Take him, Pac.
Hell yeah.
He got to be top 3, bro. He's the best defensive player that we done seen. Like, he was better last year.
Bro got arrested at the combine.
I understand that.
The pro.
That happens
he was
sometimes.
better last year.
Yeah,
That
I agree.
happens.
I agree.
Shit happens. We move on. You learn from your mistakes. Hopefully, he learned from his mistakes. But, like, when we talking football, he's the best fucking football player that we've seen as far as a 3 technique from last year draft and this year draft.
I'm on your side thinking this, and everybody talking about him as a football player. But when you start thinking like humans are making decisions here, right? It's not just like in theory. Humans are making the decisions here. That whole situation that popped up out of nowhere, seemingly, That felt like it was targeted.
Yes.
Well,
You're at the combine? Oh, interesting. Here's a little thing. Bang. We need you to be back here in Georgia. You're getting arrested in the middle of the combine for one of the saddest situations of all time. So then immediately people that didn't even know about him really go, oh, what? This is like the first time this has happened ever.
Nuts.
And then something that very sad happened. And if you don't look into it anymore, then you realize that the pro day he showed up a little heavier, a little bit slower, a little bit out of shape. It's like, oh, this guy, we don't want this. Is this the guy you want? It's like everybody has to understand he was clearly going through something. One of his best friends.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a sad,
Terrible.
sad situation. You just got to hope that you're building your culture, your team is good enough to make sure that he can bounce back from whatever he's going through. Obviously, terrible situation, but I think some people would be scared to present that to their fan base at this stage. Like, hey, with the number 2 or number 3 pick, we took this guy, and a lot of fans are going to say, like, this is the guy that blah, blah, because if he doesn't pan out.
Oh, he's panning out.
Guaranteed?
He's guaranteed to pan out.
Okay, let's go, Jalen. I'm happy for you.
Hey, and also to what Pac is saying, if Houston did jump up and take him at 2, don't you feel like D'Amico, like just knowing D'Amico a little bit, he seems to have like the rapport with guys that could kind of bring him along and, like Pac said, help him out through his rookie year and kind of teach him how to be a pro, I think.
Still young. Incredibly young. A lot of life left. A lot of lessons to learn. He can mature. A lot of people have in the past. And if he's as talented as everybody else is saying, 3 to 4 years from now, if you're one of these teams up in the top and you passed on him, you're going to say, we could have got Jalen Carter. But instead, we got, I'm not saying the name, because we might end up with that person.
Sure. The other thing with Will Anderson, doesn't feel like he's been, so highly touted, kind of similar to Thibodeau, that like it's almost as if the allure is worn off and you kind of forget. Because 2 years ago, he was a top 3 pick. Last year, going into the season, just
Number
like
1.
Thibodeau, projected number 1 pick. Like, has the kind of hype almost been forgotten because it's been there for so long?
So he had 2 years ago, he had 17 and a half sacks coming off that season. And then this last season, he had 10. So like people could say he had a little bit of a down year. But when you have 17 and a half sacks, I assume you're going to get a little bit more attention.
Triple teamed?
Probably.
He was on game day. Herbstreit did like 4 breakdowns just of him.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about this grown man that is playing for Alabama pretty much all season. I assume Herbie and College Game Day aren't the only ones paying attention to that. We could assume, even though some college football coaches appear to have football IQs of a donkey, that they would even say like, hey, this guy ain't wrecking the game. We'll let somebody else do it. But in the NFL, it's going to be the same way. If you're a quarterback guy, pass rusher, and you're good, you're going to get chipped, you're going to get doubled, you're going to get bamboozled. So it's almost like good that he got to experience it early, but his stats being what they are, I think people are thinking he wasn't able to do as much. I would like Will Anderson on my football team.
Even 10 sacks in 14 games, whatever, is still pretty fucking good.
I would like.
You know how hard it is to get sacks, though? In college, like, sack numbers are skewed because in the NFL, we see how we throw the ball. Even though the NFL has switched a little bit to the quick game, getting rid of the ball. But in college, man, like, quarterbacks don't hold the ball very long. It's the whole, hey, half field read, boom, get it out right now. Like, that's how it is. It's tough to get sacks.
I might be wrong. But tell me the last really good defensive player that came out of Alabama that played on the defensive line.
Fucking probably the football team guys, commander teams, Darren Payne and those boys.
Jonathan Allen.
John.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
All right.
My point is just Alabama have a great football team, a great program, but when it comes to D linemen and their transformation into the league, it's not the same. Now, if you talk offensive linemen, let's go to Alabama and get these fucking offensive linemen.